If there is a word that means fear of drought, that is the word I'm looking for. Good deeds. Next payday, make a donation to charity. Oh, a long time ago, we had the option of selecting for money to be distributed straight off your paycheck. I was donating to 3 different organizations. And of course, at the time, it had to be something modest. It had to be something like $2 for each of them. At first, I started with $1 for each. And then eventually, I think the maximum I did was $3 for each of them. So essentially, every paycheck, which is every 2 weeks, I was donating $9. So about 18-ish dollars per month. And the organizations, of course, were different things. Some of them were for the improvement of the city. Some of them were for, I guess you could say, folks who are lacking opportunities. And then the other one was, of course, for food banks, which at some point I considered withdrawing my donations to those other things and focusing it on food, because I think that food is the thing that universally needs to be supported the most. But I had to stop because I felt like I wasn't very confident, very trusting anymore of those resources, of those donations, and how the funds were being used. And in addition, to be completely honest with you guys, and I feel kind of bad saying this, but it's the truth. I was in a situation where I shouldn't have been doing that anyway. I kind of submitted to it. Here I am, a person whose bank account would hit the negatives pretty often, and there I am giving money to somewhere else that does not directly benefit me. And when it comes to charity, of course, it's not right to think of yourself, because the idea should be that you're putting out, giving out, being selfless to support others. But when I think back again about those days, I was putting myself in a situation where, in the name of helping, I was making myself struggle. Because now that I think about it, maybe me being in the negatives, it could have been avoided if I would have had those extra $18 with me. And it sounds trivial now because my situation now is better, and it's not like I have resembled financially that situation in recent times. But I simply felt like the causes that I believed in wholeheartedly, it wasn't an option. And when I say that my money was going to like food donations and things like that, it wasn't even focused locally. And I'm not trying to say that other places are not deserving of having things and money donated to them, but sometimes I feel bad that I'm living in this community, I'm a worker in this community, but yet my resources are being allocated to other individuals that are not exactly local. And the reason I phrase it like that is because I look at my local area as my home. This is my domestic area, my domestic concern. What happens here affects me. So, how can I be distributing resources to go elsewhere when locally, domestically, I still have issues? Imagine this too. Let's say that you are someone who you go to school, you get a degree, and you get whatever skills you get here. But then we ship you out to another country. You're not benefiting us. We gave you the education, we gave you the housing, we gave you those things, but for whatever reason, you are being shipped out to use your talents elsewhere. That's kind of how I felt about these things I was donating to. I'm like, I'm working here, I'm sweating here, rooting myself here, yet my impact is not observed here. It was hard to feel proud of that. And on top of that, like I mentioned, I was giving during a time when I needed help, I needed advancement. Because if I'm struggling, if I'm not making ends meet, then I cannot put out my best to aid someone else. If I'm doing well, by extension, other people can start doing well because I would be able to help them. I was doing my helping during a time when I myself was vulnerable. And that's when I learned that sometimes some people legit go broke or stay poor because you give too much to other people because you care and you're loving and kind. But in the process, you neglect yourself. I guess it's no different from how I talk about my parents. Like, sure, they went out there, they worked long hours, they were pillars in society, but what did they bring home? The stress, the moodiness, the exhaustion, the impatience toward me, the unkindness toward me, and the harsher expectations on me, and the love went to others but not to me, and shit like that. And I said to myself as an adult, those are mistakes I'm not gonna make. So, in a sense, you could say that I may sound like I discriminate against where help goes, but I like to preoccupy myself with what I can see and have a direct impact on that. Now, if on a global scale there is an effort that we have in common, sure, I can participate. I don't have issues with that. But to make that my default habit, I don't think it's right. I think that we need to make sure that if you're here, if you're in this community, whatever community you're at, make your presence known there. Now, if you happen to be in a privileged community that's already well off, then by all means, please continue to work in that privileged community and allocate your resources to the least privileged ones. But as someone who's not in a privileged community, then I can look at it as, why would I give my power somewhere else who also may not be quite privileged, but I'm depriving this unprivileged area of whatever little bit I could be giving it to make it better? I hope that makes sense. Like, I don't want to sound unwilling to give to charity. I've done my fair bit. But I thought I would share this anecdote so that, first of all, you know that this is something that has been going on for a long time. Me giving goes way back to me collecting my first paycheck. But understand that sometimes as your life evolves, you may need to make readjustments. I may not be committed bi-weekly to giving to those organizations anymore, but at least I do make sure that if there is an opportunity to give, that I do something. Another thing I have done is I have actually put donation boxes together and dropped them off at places. And I like that because I like that I can see how my resource immediately gets put to use. And sometimes when it comes to just giving money, you gotta question how it's handled from an administrative point of view. And that is the thing that I discovered that I could question. So there you guys have it. That's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your experiences with donations. Mine have been pretty humble in nature, I guess you could say. I cannot say I have ever donated anything above $5 monetarily. But when it comes to donation boxes, things that I drop off very easily, I have hit the $50 mark. And I think that is a big deal because, hey, it's $50. That's food that I'm opting to not have and money toward future car repairs that I'm letting go of. But if there's something that I was good at is, though as a kid I had selfish tendencies, for some reason as an adult I became too giving, and I think I felt guilty about how I was in a position where I couldn't give much, at least comfortably, years ago. But now I think my issue is becoming too giving to those people I'm close with. And I just like that. I remember a time when I used to get spoiled pretty often, and how nice it made me feel once I got over that uncomfortable feeling of, oh my God, this person is spending too much on me, because I wasn't used to that, being raised so humbly. But eventually I became that person. And I guess I see that point. It's you have the ability to do something, why wouldn't you? I guess it goes back to how I say that the point of being alive is to relieve misery. And when I was getting help here and there, I always made sure that I would designate a little piece of it, whatever I'm being helped with, at least I can reserve like an ort of that to go elsewhere. And then on some occasions, of course, I have to think about myself too. And those financial orts, I guess, had to stay with me for my own betterment. But it's one of those things I am not afraid to give things and give money, especially if the cause is very persuasive. I like to give to good causes so that I can see how something works, like something helps for the bigger picture. All right, that's it. Bye.